When it comes to starting a business, one of the biggest decisions that business owners have to make, which is also the number one thing that keeps them from actually starting, is the choice of business entity. You know, should they start as a C-Corp, an S-Corp? Should they be a partnership, sole proprietor, or the all too popular LLC? Well, when it comes to starting a business, there is one amongst that group that is hardly ever talked about. One that is larger than all of them in existence, yet no one seems to know hardly anything about it. It's an underdog, if you will. So in this video, I'm going to tell you all about this underdog, the superhero of the business world, the sole proprietor. I'm going to tell you what it is and why you should consider starting as one. Let's go. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another Self-Employed Tax Guy's daring adventure in video. Oh, man, I couldn't hold it. I couldn't keep a straight face. What's up, family? It's your favorite uncle, cousin, Tyrone Gregory, the Self-Employed Tax Guy, back at it again. Thank you for being here. Listen, today I am wearing my cape because we are talking about the sole proprietor, the superhero of the business world. The sole proprietor is an underdog. Like I said in the beginning, it's something that's not really talked about, and I get a lot of questions asked, what is it? How do we become one? So today, I am going to do my best to answer all of your questions and give you all the information you need about the underdog, that is the sole proprietor, and why they're a superhero of the business world. So without any further delays, let's go ahead and get to the content. The sole proprietor, the business underdog. And in the usual Self-Employed Tax Guys fashion, we always have to start with the definition. What is a sole proprietor exactly? Well, a sole proprietor is this. It is a single person operation. However, the two words that make up this term is sole and proprietor, each having their own definition. The term or the word sole is defined as being the only one. Okay, there is no more than just that one person, sole, singular, by yourself. Okay, the term or the word proprietor is defined as an owner of a business. Okay, so when we look at that again, a sole proprietor is a single person operation. When you put the two words together, sole proprietor, you get what black law, the Black Law Dictionary calls the owner of a business who acts alone and has no partners. Okay, again, that you can get that definition from Black's Law Dictionary. And a sole proprietor, sole proprietor, a single person, sole, owner of a business. So a sole proprietor is a owner of a business who acts alone, has no partners. And we're going to keep that in mind, okay? But side note, there are technically only three main types of businesses: the C-Corp, the partnership, the sole proprietor. A C-Corp has to have a board of directors, so that means there is more than one person responsible for the business. And by that, there goes the sole part. However, in some states, they do allow one individual to occupy all the required seats. But even in that case, by definition, a C-Corp cannot be a sole proprietor. A partnership is what happens when two or more people come together to start a business. Again, two or more, not sole, not single, not by themselves. So just by creation and just by definition alone, a partnership cannot be a sole proprietorship. And I know you're thinking, well, Uncle Cousin, what about the LLC? The reason I didn't include the LLC in that group is for two reasons. One, it's more of a hybrid type of entity. And two, as of this video, it still isn't recognized by the federal government. All right, back to what it is. So continuing on, a sole proprietor is the first step in business. And the reason it is your first step in business is because it establishes your business. The minute that you decide you want to be a business and you go out and act as such, then you immediately become a sole proprietor and therefore become or form a sole proprietorship. Now, this may not be true for everyone, but for that one person operation, it is. A perfect example of this is the story of eBay. This is amazing. We all know eBay, right? If you don't know eBay, I don't know where you've been. But it's amazing that the founder of eBay, Pierre, I can't say his name, so I'm not going to try, but he started off, or before it became eBay, it was Auction Web. But he did that at home, okay, as a sole proprietor. And while it was still Auction Web, they did over 1 million sales and hired staff. It wasn't until a couple of years later that he changed the name to eBay and then decided to incorporate to scale his business. But all I'm saying is the fact that eBay started off as a sole proprietor. All right, back to it. So another thing that the sole proprietor is, it is the most common form of business. Okay, so last I checked, according to the IRS statistics, the sole proprietors make up more than 73% of all businesses here in the US. And that number is growing, which also means that the sole proprietor is the backbone of the US economy, accounting for more than half of the US labor. That means more than half the people that are employed here in the US work for a sole proprietor. Okay, let me be honest. That number also includes those who are registered as a single member LLC, because remember, the feds don't recognize LLCs as separate legal entities. Okay, so now that we know what a sole proprietor is, the next question is, how do we form one? Well, here's the thing. You really don't incorporate or fill out any paperwork to become a sole proprietor. The minute you start acting in the capacity of a business and it's just you are automatically a sole proprietor. So technically, all it takes for you to become a sole proprietor, you need two things. You need a product and or service, and you need a customer who's willing to pay for that product or service. And once the transaction happens, and again, it's just you are automatically a sole proprietor. Side note, I will say this. In order to be a sole proprietor, you must be intentional. Because if you are unintentional, meaning that you just so happen to sell something, the IRS does not consider that a business. They consider that a hobby. And trust me, you do not want to be considered a hobby if you're really trying to be a business, because as a hobby, things are taxed way different. All right, let's get back to forming a sole proprietor. Another thing you can do is register a DBA. Like I said earlier, there is nothing official required to start a sole proprietorship. No incorporating, no paperwork, no nothing. If I were to start a business right now, I would be doing business as Tyrone Gregory. When I go out there and I represent myself as a business, I would be representing myself as Tyrone Gregory. However, if you did not, for privacy purposes or anything else, if you do not want to represent your business as yourself, you can register what is called a DBA. That stands for doing business as. And what that allows you to do, now let me make this clear, doing a DBA does not change the sole proprietorship. The only thing that it is changing is the name that is being presented to the public. So for example, I still can be Tyrone Gregory doing business as the self-employed tax guy. So now when I register my DBA, I'm still a sole proprietor, but now I can get the self-employed tax guy and put it on business cards and hand that out. I can start a website, the selfemployedtaxguy.com, which is my actual website, by the way, but I don't have to do it as Tyrone Gregory. I can be in the business world as the self-employed tax guy and keep all of my information, at least my name, from the public. So registering as a DBA, again, doesn't change the fact that you're a sole proprietor. As a DBA, you are still a sole proprietor. You are just doing business as a different name. And if you want to know more information on the DBA, what it is and how to form one, make sure to check out my video. Make sure I put the link right there in the card on YouTube or somewhere right here that should be in that box. But just click right here and you'll see it. All right, boom. All right, next, what are the pros and the cons of being a sole proprietor? So first thing we're going to talk about is the pros. Now, I may be a little biased here because I am a fan of the sole proprietor, which means that my pros list is going to be a lot longer than my cons list. I'm just saying. But let's get to it anyway. Here are the pros. The first one, it's the easiest structure to form. Like I said earlier, all you have to do is do it, okay? Another one, it's free. Every other business structure requires you to file some sort of paperwork and pay filing fees or application fees, but not with the sole proprietor. You pay absolutely nothing, nada, whatever, zilch, not one red penny, all right? Another thing about the pros of it is the fact that you are 100% in control. It's all you. There is no board of directors to report to, no waiting on someone else to make a decision, no meetings, no waiting on approvals, nothing. You do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, all right? The next pro is the fact that you can do the same thing as the big corps. Being a sole proprietor doesn't mean that you are restricted. No, you can do some of the same things that the big corps can do. You can hire people, offer retirement plans, buy health insurance, save for retirement, and write off those same expenses. The only thing you just can't do is deduct the amount that you pay yourself. That's really the only thing there. Everything else is fair game. If they can write it off, so can you. If they can take a loss, so can you. Another pro, low overhead. Yes, even though it's free to form, there is still the cost of doing business. However, that cost is lower when you are a sole proprietor. The reason is because there is no state fees, no admin fees. Your tax return is lower, well, depending on where you go. But as a sole proprietor, the tax forms are just additional schedules that are attached to your personal tax return. So you're not paying for an additional tax return as if you were incorporated, like the C-Corps and S-Corps. They have different forms and things like that. So absolutely low overhead. Another pro is the fact that you can be protected. One of the biggest fears and manipulative tactics used by those who don't like sole proprietors is that you can be sued and lose everything. But really, have we ever really seen that happen, or is that just one of them business ghost stories? There is a way that even as a sole proprietor, you can protect yourself. It's called insurance. Me personally, I use Hiscox. That's who in my office, they insure me up to $1 million with a low monthly fee. As a disclaimer, just to be honest, I am an affiliate for Hiscox because I love them so much, I decided to promote them. And what that means, there's a link down in the description that if you want to get a free quote, no obligation, you can click on that link. And if you get the free quote, they'll give me a small commission. But you can still be protected as a sole proprietor. You can even still protect your name because as a sole proprietor, you're still eligible to file and register for a trademark, a copyright, and a patent. You don't have to be incorporated. You don't have to have an LLC. You don't have to have any special type of separate legal entity to register for these things. You still can do it and protect your name. And if you register your trademark as a sole proprietor and later decide to incorporate because it makes financial sense to do so, you can transfer the name from your personal self to your business. I'm just saying, you don't believe the hype. All right, let's now talk about the cons, okay? I mean, as awesome and amazing as the sole proprietor is, it does have its downsides. I mean, even Superman had kryptonite. Okay, so let's talk about the cons, starting with the first one, the personal liability. Again, this is the biggest downside of the sole proprietor. As a sole proprietor, you are your business and your business is you. There is no legal separation. All credit is guaranteed by you. The business debt is your debt. If the business falters, you are 100% responsible to repay those debts. Again, if as a sole proprietor, your product causes harm to someone, they can sue you. However, all of that can be curtailed with the proper insurance. Next on the cons list, raising capital. If you are trying to raise capital, it may be hard to do so as a sole proprietor. C-Corps can raise capital by selling shares of stocks. LLCs can sell membership shares, but there is nothing to sell as a sole proprietor. Also, when it comes to investors, they like to see a team behind their investment, which is why they like the board of directors that the C-Corps have. But then again, the world is changing. This can also be curtailed by raising capitals through a company like Kickstarter and other angel and micro investor programs that are out there. All right, next on our cons list is the self-employment taxes. Yes, the dreaded self-employment taxes. When you are a sole proprietor, you pay, at least as of this video, 15.3% on your net profits. And that's not including your federal or state taxes. And unfortunately, there's nothing that can curtail that. However, I can say this. After a certain profit level, you can form an LLC, have it taxed as an S-Corp, and you'll save money on your self-employment taxes that way. Moving on. What a wonderful question. One that is very popular in the business world. How do you pay yourself as a sole proprietor? So let's answer that question. The first thing you can do is take a draw. I know that sounds simple, but truth is, it really is just that simple. Remember, as a sole proprietor, you cannot pay yourself a W-2 or 1099. So what you earn in profit is your take-home pay. That's your salary, but that's also the amount that you're going to pay your taxes on. Let me give you an example. Let's say you earned $10,000 in revenue for the month. You spend $3,000 in expenses, which leaves you with a $7,000 profit. Now you can either take the full $7,000 as your take home, or you can take $100 as your take home. It's totally up to you. However, you will be taxed on the full $7,000 regardless of how much you take. All right, let me give you some pro tips. Pro tip number 1, act like a big corp. Listen, just because you are a one-person operation doesn't mean that you have to act like a one-person operation. You want to think big. Always look for ways to scale up. Teams are important. Remember, as a sole proprietor, you can hire people, develop marketing and sales strategies, manage your financials the same, set budgets, goals, etc. Start small, think big. Pro tip 2, keep books. Even as a sole proprietor, bookkeeping is essential. The reason is because bookkeeping does more than track your income and expenses. It tells the story of how your business is actually doing. Also, consider bookkeeping as part of your growth strategy. With the financial reports you can produce as part of the bookkeeping process, you can use that information for investors and possible partners to help you scale. Okay? Pro tip number 3. This is a must. Open a separate business account. This helps to keep things separate. Yes, as a sole proprietor, you are on the hook for everything, but you still want to keep things separate. This is done so that you can clearly identify what was for business and what was personal. Also, it makes it easier to pay yourself and manage that entire process. Anytime you want to take a draw, just simply transfer funds from the business account to your personal account and boom, you're good. Pro tip number 4, get the required licenses. There is a misconception that you have to be a specific type of entity in order to apply for the necessary licenses needed in order to operate your business. Well, that's just not true. As a sole proprietor, you can and should get every license that you need, including your seller's permits, your tax ID, your EIN, your trademarks, your copyrights, your patents, and any other thing that's required for you to operate your business properly, okay? And here we are. The wrap up. Alrighty, family, there you have it. Everything you need to know about being a sole proprietor, becoming a sole proprietor, and operating as a sole proprietor. Listen, I know there's a lot of information out there, a lot of videos, a lot of people telling you how you should start your business, including this video. But please do me a favor. Run those numbers. Make sure that it makes financial sense for you to do it whichever way you decide to do it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's your business and I want you to run it the way that works best for you. Alrighty, folks, that is it for me. It has been an absolute pleasure sharing this information with you. I truly hope that you found it useful. If you did, do me a favor, superheroes, smash that like button and remember to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. And do me one last favor. Go get yourself a cape, fly through your city, and share this information. That's it for me, your favorite uncle cousin. Until next time we meet, stay super. I'm out.